What's up, Tyler Tachman with the Des Moines Register here. Just got back to Iowa after the trip out west to California. Iowa goes 2-0, beating Ole Miss and Grand Canyon to capture an Acrisure Classic title in the 4-team bracket. Bennett Sturts was named the MVP. I just wanted to get on here and kind of talk a little bit about what we feel like, or what I feel like I learned from the trip. It felt like this was, Iowa, it peeled back the layers a little bit in terms of being able to learn more about this team, because Iowa got through the first 5 games of the season without much trouble, but there was adversity in each of the 2 games out in California, and starting with Ole Miss, it was the best team that Iowa has played so far this season. Now they do fall to Utah the day after losing to Iowa, so I think that puts a little bit more of a question into what their season is going to look like, Ole Miss that is. But anyways, it's against a team that at the time was undefeated. You have Chris Beard coaching them, who has gone to the national title game with Texas Tech in 2019, and it was tied at halftime. Iowa made the necessary plays down the stretch to win that game, and felt like finally got to see how Iowa reacted with some serious game pressure on them when they needed to make those types of winning plays in crunch time, and they were able to do that. And then the Grand Canyon game was kind of a different story, beginning with the scene before the game even started, which was Grand Canyon brought a pretty strong contingent of fans, band, and cheerleaders. So it wasn't like an away game type setting, but Iowa hasn't played a true away game yet this season, and it was as close to a road game as the Hawkeyes have gotten this season. There's certainly going to be a major step up on December 2nd when Iowa goes on the road to Michigan State to open up Big Ten play, but there was some challenges just in terms of the atmosphere, and it was a really rough start by Iowa. It looked like they kind of had a hangover from the Ole Miss game, playing back-to-back days. But they did respond. They went on a 9-0 run and took control of the game. After his 29-point outburst against Ole Miss, Bennett Sturts had a little bit of a slower day, 5 for 15 from the field. He has 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists. But Isaiah Howard was the story of the game. He has 19 points, 3 of 5 from 3. Remember, he started the season in Iowa's starting lineup. And then 3 games ago, Ben McCollum made the switch, putting Cale Combs in the starting lineup. And Isaiah Howard, this was his best game as a Hawkeye. He looked really confident out there, really got it going in the second half. And besides him, Cooper Koch following up what was the first double-double of his Iowa career against Ole Miss. He goes for 11 points and 6 rebounds, 2 assists against Grand Canyon. That was, to me, one of the bigger developments out from this trip in California, was how well Cooper Koch would play. Just looked super comfortable, super confident. Remember, he's only a redshirt freshman. His emergence is something to really keep an eye on here if he can keep this going consistently, because he looks like he could be a real critical part of what Iowa does in terms of being a complementary piece to Bennett Sturts this season. But look, in both games, the offense was not great, especially the Grand Canyon game. It was pretty rough to watch. Against Grand Canyon, Iowa shoots just 40% from the field and 32% from 3. They win that game 59-46. It was sort of a rock fight, low scoring, physical type game. For as good as Iowa's offense looked through the first 5 games, there was definitely some more growing pains these last 2 games. That being said, Iowa still won both games, and it did look ugly at times. But what Iowa did was the other things that are really important, which is defense, rebounding, energy. And these are the types of things that are more likely to carry you in March. Like, this is where Iowa's gotten trouble in the past, where you have a bad shooting performance and things are just kind of out the door. But Iowa was able to find a way to win both of these games without really playing well offensively. Bennett Sturts carried them against Ole Miss, but it wasn't ideal conditions from an offensive standpoint. If you could tell from the television that the rims looked pretty tight. Alvaro Figueres said after the Ole Miss game, not using this as an excuse, but he said that he didn't feel like the balls were broken in. So, but basically, there's going to be factors that Iowa has to deal with in a March type setting, March Madness type setting, if they get there, and they're going to have to find other ways to win if they aren't playing well offensively or shooting well. You know, you want to see them get better offensively, but they still found a way to win despite that. And that's where I think you can see, like, this is a style of basketball. It's not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing all the time, but it's one that gives Iowa a better chance to, win in the postseason. Ben McCollum spoke to that after the Grand Canyon game, and this is what he had to say about basically like winning ugly.
I thought defensively we were fantastic, locked in. We've worked on that all summer. I think offensively we're a work in progress. I don't think we got to the next action very well. Thought we got pretty one-dimensional, but part of winning basketball is it's not going to always look like it did, the first game. Sometimes it's going to look ugly, and you got to win ugly. That's the best part about this team is whether it's pretty and we score really well. Who can't win when everything's going your way offensively? Like, who can't win? Can you win when things aren't going your way offensively? Can you survive with other ways? And our kids can.
I think we kind of also picked up a little bit more of the buy-in and the character of this team. There was a story that Ben McCollum shared after the Grand Canyon game. Brendan Hawson, who played sparingly during this trip, he got in for approximately 3 seconds in the Grand Canyon game, and Ben McCollum told the story that against Ole Miss, Brendan Hawson was supposed to check into the game, and Cooper Koch was playing so well that Brendan Hawson basically said, like, I think we should just keep him on the floor. So he gave up his own playing time, and if you remember, this is a guy who he's played at Villanova, he's played at Kansas State, he's never made the NCAA tournament, he's a senior now. His minutes have been totally slashed from what he was playing at Kansas State from a volume perspective, and yet he is willingly saying, hey, let's keep Cooper Koch on the floor, and taking away what would be opportunity for himself on the floor. So I thought that was a great example of sort of the culture that Ben McCollum has built and the leadership at Brendan Hawson. We've heard that he has really taken on a leadership role in which is, I thought was, I don't know if I'd say surprising is the word, but he wasn't one of the core Drake guys to come over. He was one that's kind of had to integrate himself into the group, but he seems like even though maybe he isn't getting a ton of playing time, not getting certainly as much as he has the last 2 seasons, but his character is really showing through. Iowa now jumps into Big Ten play, the biggest challenge of the season against Michigan State at Michigan State on Tuesday, followed by Maryland at home, and then Iowa goes on the road to Iowa State. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hope everyone is having a great Thanksgiving, being able to spend some time with family and friends, and hope that everyone can be thankful and appreciative for everything that they have in their lives. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in.